getting closer to the holidays, so like I got a ton of people that couldn't make it but want the recording.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. So all right, guys, welcome to Fresh Agent Marketing. Excited, man. I wish you could just be with me every week because you have so much cool stuff. So Peggy's going to share with us a lead conversion system. I got to figure out how to have that ding not go off, for the first 5 minutes. When people join, there's got to be a way to turn that off, right? Got to be a way. So I'll figure it out. So welcome everybody to Fresh Agent Marketing, back with week 3 of number 4 with Peggy Yee, who has just been so instrumental in creating systems. I don't even know if systems are the right word, just extraordinary stuff that you need or should have for your real estate business. And she's going to share with us a lead conversion today. And I'm excited to see it. I have no idea what she's going to present, so it's always a surprise for me too. And Peggy, I'm going to turn it over for you. Why don't you just so we have it on record, like a little bit about you and like kind of like you do from the start.
Okay, that sounds perfect. Okay, thanks, Scotty. So let me share my screen and then we can get
Okay,
started.
sounds
So
good.
let's see. I think that's the one. Okay, can you guys see my screen?
We got it.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so today we are going to be talking about lead conversion. So a little bit about me, if you guys have not joined the last couple times. I'm a licensed broker in Virginia and Hawaii. I've been in real estate over 10 years, helped lots of clients, and I stepped out of production in 2021. And, when I was thinking about what I wanted to do next, I did not want to be in production again, but I really love the systems behind real estate. And so that's why I started Citrus Templates, is that our mission is to help you grow your real estate business through systems. And so we provide templates, step-by-step videos, and our coaching program, You Need a System. So if you need any help with setting up systems, we are here for you.
Peggy is extraordinary too. So if you guys just talk through whatever, she's helping me with one. So she's extraordinary with setting up whatever you're thinking about doing or need to do, or if one of the systems needs to be tweaked a little bit for you, she can do that as well. So I can't say enough about how awesome she is with her systems. And I think you'll see here in a little bit.
Great. Thanks, Scotty. Yeah. I work with a lot of agents on customized, like if you see any of the templates on my website and you're like, well, it's not quite what I want. I customize templates for agents all the time and stuff like that. So whatever you guys
Very cool.
need in terms of systems. Okay, so we've been talking the last couple of weeks about, every real estate business needing these 4 essential systems, right? So we're looking at attracting clients, so you need a lead generation system, engaging clients, giving them an irresistible offer to get them to actually work with you, which is a lead conversion system. So that's the part we'll be talking about today. And then we already talked about, delivering an amazing client experience through your contract to close system, and how to retain your clients and keep in touch with them, so they don't forget about you and they tell their friends and family about you, and they use you again through a client appreciation plan or system. So today we're going to be talking about this, the engage part of this, with lead conversion. And I'm not going to give you like a specific lead conversion system, but I'm going to give you a framework to think about lead conversion, because I think it's different for everybody. Some people, want to, call leads all the time and like really pound them. Other people are like, I don't want to do that. I want, I want to kind of talk to them, try to reach them over, a longer period of time. So it really is really custom to how you want to work with your clients, or want to work with the leads. But I'm going to give you a framework that will work for everybody.
Awesome.
So before we dive in, if you guys have not filled out this survey yet, this is just a survey to kind of get a sense of where you are with all of these systems. So that helps us to figure out kind of what, what kind of content and what kind of, training to bring you.
Love it.
Okay, so lead conversion. So this is basically everything that you need to do between, getting a new lead, right? A new lead just comes in, you get somebody's contact information, somebody reaches out to you via email, Facebook, just a random phone call, like so and so told me to call you. You're just getting this brand new fresh lead from your marketing or whatever you're doing on that lead generation system. So you're getting a new lead, and how do you convert them from that like first conversation with them, right? That your first impression, all the way through to getting them signed, right? And a signed client for sellers, right? That's a listing agreement. For buyers, that's a buyer agency agreement. So how do you get these people to say, you are the person that I want to work with? I'm not looking at other agents to work with. Right. So that's, and obviously the better you are at lead conversion, then you either don't need as many leads to, achieve your business goals, or once you, start growing your business, it's just going to explode because you've got more leads and you have a really great way to convert them. So that's why it's so important. So why do you need a system, right? I think leads generally have the same goals and objections. Like when you have a buyer come into you, I mean, it's for the buyer, it's the first time, right? For the buyer, and they're super excited and they have all these questions and all that kind of stuff. But for you, this is probably like the 50th, 100th time that you've like answered, why should I get a pre-approval? Or, what do I need to do first? Can we go see homes before I get approved? Right? These are all questions that you have probably answered a million times, right? So, and buyers, generally have the same goals. Sellers generally have the same goals. They want to sell their house for top dollar. They want to net the most amount of money. These are all very predictable things. It's not like there's going to be a seller there that has like some random goal that you've never heard of before, So we can have a system around this about, the common goals. You can anticipate what the common goals are for buyers and sellers. You can anticipate what the common objections are for buyers and sellers. And then just have your responses ready. So you're not like, I'm not sure about that, right? These are things that you can already anticipate that they're going to be asking you. So just be ready with those responses, right? And that's all part of this lead conversion system.
Love it.
And so also this lead conversion system is a way for you to never forget to follow up with the lead again, right? Because you're going to be thinking about, for these leads, exactly when to follow up with them and know exactly what to say when you follow up with them. Because how many times have we like just written down something and then like, we're like, oh, I'll follow up with them later. Or like you leave a conversation and like they didn't like say they wanted to work with you, but they didn't say they didn't want to work with you. And then you just don't know what to do with them, right? You don't know what to say. You don't know what to say again, So this is a way that for me, it was always like clarity for me with systems brings a lot of action. Because if I don't know what to do, I'm just not going to do anything, right? But if you've thought through like, okay, well, what happens if I come to, like I talked to this person, they're not quite ready to work with me. I haven't gotten an appointment yet, but maybe they'll still want to work with me in the future, right? There's a certain amount of like uncertainty around that. But if you can put some clarity around, okay, well, if that happens, this is what I'm going to do, right? So then you know exactly when you should be following up with them, and you're never going to like lose that lead again. Okay. And it's a way that your lead conversion system is going to be thinking through how you're going to show them why they should hire you. And I think this is a really important point of, I don't think as agents, like we really think about what makes us different than the agent next to us, right? Like people always say, oh, like, people are flocking to this one brokerage to like go work with them. But why is that? If I were a buyer and seller, what would make me attracted to that service? And what do I bring that's different that will attract other clients to me, right? So I don't think, we necessarily like really think through what is our, like unique selling proposition, like what makes us different than, the random agent that just got their license that is, trying to sell their first house, right? We all bring, expertise, we care about our clients, like there's different things about your business and what your experience and what you bring to the table that really need to be fleshed out and explained clearly to clients about why they should be working with you. So I would definitely take the time to think about those kinds of things. things that people do that I've seen to kind of differentiate themselves from just the average agent are, like I always offered like a satisfaction guarantee. I think that is probably the like
Hmm.
minimum that you can offer, right? Because all of us want to be, um, want to have our clients satisfied, right? And if they're not satisfied, like
Right.
for some reason they're not satisfied, you can like, so how mine worked was it's 100% satisfaction guarantee. Like you sign a listing agreement or a buyer agreement with me. If you, for some reason, like we do not work well together, or like you just are, are not satisfied, please give us an opportunity to fix it. But if we can't fix it, then we're going to release you from the agreement. Because I always felt like if you don't want to work with me, then I don't want to be like, sorry, you're in this 6-month listing agreement with me. Like that's just not how I wanted to run my business. So it's like, if you don't want to work with me, then that's fine. We can find somebody else that would be, you can find somebody else that may be a better match for you. I can't even remember a time where that actually had to happen, but I think it
I was gonna
gives
say,
the,
yeah. At
right?
least
It just gives um, that
it
little
removes
extra
the
that the other
walls.
people aren't doing.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
removes the walls. Like, yeah, hey, man, if I'm not gonna help you create a referable experience, an amazing experience, like maybe I can find somebody that will. If you're not feeling it, right?
Yeah,
So you going with
exactly.
your guard down. Yeah.
And so I think that's at a minimum you can offer a satisfaction guarantee, right? That
Yeah.
most agents aren't doing, right? You've seen, I'm sure you've seen the marketing out there about like we'll sell your house for full list price or we'll buy it. There's like things like that out there. Buyer happiness guarantee, like if you don't love your house, if in the next 12 months we'll list it for free. For listings, you can offer like we have free staging. Like for me, I always offered a free staging consultation.
Hmm.
Which I paid for, like my stager, charged me for the consultation. And so things like that, like you can offer, what are these things that separate you from other agents? Or like look at your competition, right? What is your competition doing that is making clients come to them, right? So kind of look around and see, oh, is there a way I can do that? Actually, one thing that I really like to do as well is like look at, if you're looking at competition, I like to look at competition of successful agents that are outside my market area, right? Because
Mm,
you're not competing with those agents, right? But you can
right.
get a lot of like information about like how they do their marketing, what's working for them, and things like that. So I kind of like doing that. Like, I was in Virginia, so maybe I would be looking at like, oh, like what are like top agents in Texas doing, or what are top
Mm,
agents in Colorado doing, and you can kind of
mm.
like see kind of what else is working for other agents out there without being like, here, let me copy like the next agent over from me. So think about that. So think about what makes you different, right? And because that's going to be part of that lead conversion process, right? And you are going to need to set up some type of repeatable lead conversion process if you ever want to grow a team. And that is probably like the hardest part, I would say, about growing a team, right? Because if you're growing a team, you're bringing on these new agents and they have no idea how to convert leads, right? They like almost guaranteed cannot convert leads as well as you can convert a lead, right? And you wouldn't be bringing on a team if you couldn't already convert leads. So having this, so being able to think through like what makes me able to convert leads, like and thinking through that process and being able to think through, okay, how do I train somebody else in the future to convert leads like I do, so that that person, right? We talked about how people don't necessarily need to work with you, but they want to work with the quality and what you represent, right? And so that kind of comes through our lead conversion system as well,
Mm.
right? If somebody's on your team and they're trying to convert a lead, what are they saying to that person? What are they offering to that person? How are they interacting with that person to get them to convert is all a reflection on your team, right? And what you represent. And so having that consistent process spelled out is going to be great in the future too. So if you maybe don't have a team right now, but you're thinking about you might want to do it in the future, having this kind of process thought out is going to save you tons of time in terms of like figuring out how to train that person on how to convert these leads once they start coming in. Anybody
Love it.
have any questions? I know, Scott, maybe you can monitor
No,
the
yep, nope,
chat
no
and stuff
questions
like
yet.
that.
So, like, yeah, let me know if you guys have any questions down in the chat box. More than happy to answer anything. I know when we get going here, but like, I'm curious, customer appreciation. So, or guarantee. Is the guarantee have to be something of cost, or what kind of like with the satisfaction guarantee, or just selling for top dollar, or because you said you did a home stage, that's got an expense to it.
Right.
Does it have to be something that costs or no?
I don't think it has to be
Okay.
something with the cost. I think also just like with my satisfaction guarantee, it was more like we'll let you out of the contract. We'll
Mm,
let you out of the listing agreement or let you out of the buyer agreement kind of thing. Um, because I also, at least for buyers, I also feel like just generally buyer agreements are very hard to enforce.
yeah.
Um, like if you were to actually sue a buyer, like to like go through that process of like you showed a buyer's like 100 homes and then they bought with somebody else, but you had a buyer agency agreement. Like, are you really going to go through the whole process of hiring a lawyer and going after that commission? Because probably at
Right.
the end of the day, the amount of money that you've paid the attorney is going to be the same amount as your commission.
Right.
So generally, like in my opinion, at least, buyer agency agreements are very hard to enforce. Now, do I get them signed? Yes, I always get them signed because mentally, your buyer is not going to sign that if they are already thinking about doing something else with another agent, right? So I feel like that's a very easy one to just say, like, look, we are required by law to sign this buyer agency agreement, which is true at least in Virginia. Like, you had to have a buyer agency agreement signed. We are required to have it signed with the time, with a certain amount of the contract time. But if you have a problem, an issue, and we're just not a good fit, then you can be released of this agreement. I don't want to hold you hostage, right? I don't think anybody wants to be held hostage. Like, who also wants to work with a client that doesn't want to work with you? Like,
I'm out. Yeah. Right.
so
Right.
so I think feel like something like that, it's not necessarily a cost besides, your time of working with them and then it not working out. So it doesn't necessarily have an upfront cost.
Mm, good. Cool.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, just asking, like, just to get the expectations out there of what a buyer expects, and obviously the more you do it, what they expect. So you can always be ahead of the game to just, have that amazing experience to kind of jump ahead of whatever they're thinking. But to
Right.
ask them, hey, how can I do better? How can I make this experience better for you? What am I missing? Is there anything I'm not answering?
Right. Right. And I think
Yeah.
I think that's actually one of the questions that you should have as part of your either your initial consultation or when you throughout this process that they're trying to hire you, of asking them like one of the questions that I always ask is, what's most important to you about the realtor that you hire?
Yeah.
Um, because
Yeah.
that's a really great question to say, like, because you have so many different personalities, right? So some people are like, just get my home sold for top dollar, right? You have your like, direct people like I don't need to talk to you, I don't need to do anything with you, just sell my house, right? So those people, you're not, you're following up, but just as a quick update, and that's it, right? Other people are like, I want to be your best friend. I want to talk to you about this whole process and the history of my house and like everything that's in it, right? And so you have to adjust based upon those questions, right? And but you also kind of know, right? I think if you guys have done a lot enough deals that you've seen all the different personalities, right?
Right.
And then how do you adjust your services, your conversation, so that that buyer or that seller has a great experience for them, right? But I think it all goes back to the fact that you can make this a system, right? That every buyer and seller goes through this process, right? Of like they're first starting to, um, reach out to you or a couple agents, and how are you going to differentiate yourself so that you're the one that they end up, signing with and getting hired, right? So,
Love it. Yep.
okay.
Somebody Sherry's like, hey, I love the idea of calling it a satisfaction guarantee. Have always told my customers that I will let them out of a contract if they aren't happy with me, but calling it SG is great.
Yeah. Yep. And I think it is how you kind of term it, right? Because a lot of times, and that's another thing to think about is what I like to do too, in terms of like you researching your competition and stuff, is like you don't, it's not necessarily in real estate, right? Like when you go to Target or when you go to Amazon, right? Amazon's like, oh, free returns, or we make the returns easy, like things like that. Like it can kind of jog your memory about like, oh, well, how could I apply this to my business, right? Like what makes certain things, like what makes and especially in terms of lead conversion, what are those walls that I can break down, right? So when you're looking out at other businesses that you buy from, right, what are those things that they do to make you sign an agreement or make you pay money to them over their competition? So you can always be thinking about stuff like that. I always liked kind of looking at what other people were doing and kind of seeing, like even outside of the real estate industry, and kind of seeing what else you could do. So yeah, because I think that's satisfaction guarantee. You hear that a lot in like other businesses, but maybe not necessarily in real estate. So yeah. Okay, so lead conversion steps, right? So we, if you guys were on the Tuesday call last week, we were talking about like lead conversion and funnels, like it's specifically for lead conversion. And I just want to put this up that, every lead goes through this process, right? They're a lead, you try to set an appointment with them, then you meet with them, then you get them signed, then you get them sold, and they become repeat customers and referrals. So all of your leads are going through this process. So the green is basically what we're talking about today. How do you convert them from this lead down to a signed client, right? Then when you get to sold, that's your contract to close system. And the repeat customers and referrals, that's your client appreciation plan system. So this is a big chunk of it, right? And this is probably one of the most important parts of, this business is, converting a lead to your actual signed client, right? So, so this is the area that we're talking about today.
So just so you guys know, all this stuff that Peggy's doing is getting put into Fresh Agent Marketing. So if you guys go to Fresh Agent Marketing, if you're not a member, it's free to sign up. Just hit the sign up at the top right. And Peggy's got her own section. I got her own course in there. So we're one of this is one of three. So there's one of two. There's one of one of two, and one of three in there after this class, and then we're doing one after the holidays. But if you guys, it's free of charge. So just go to freshagentmarketing.com, top right, sign up, no cost. Choose it. I called it Fresh Agent Systems. With in it the little description, it talks about Peggy in there, but it's all her classes. So anything we do with Peggy is going to be in there. So just want to let you know you've earned a spot in Fresh Agent Marketing, Peggy.
That sounds great. That sounds awesome. So here's how you're going to set this up, right? So there's going to be two separate processes, right? One's a buyer lead conversion process. The other one is for sellers, right? And these are the things that you're going to want to create, right? So one is an agent action plan. So this could be like, I always put it in like a Google Doc. So you outline your lead conversion process, like just write it out, right? What do you do to convert a lead? And just also think of it as a living document, right? Get a version 1 out of just what do you do to convert a lead, and then you can then just start to refine it in there. And for each step in this process, you should also start a separate Google Doc as like a script book and email templates. So as you're going through this process, be thinking down to that level of detail of, okay, when I follow up with a lead, what specifically do I say? Right. So then that goes in your script book. Like, this is what you say. Because again, if you ever wanted to grow a team, I can guarantee you your team member has no idea what to say. Otherwise, they would be out on their own doing their own deals. So you need to train them, right? You need to train them on this is what to say. And I think also, yeah, as an agent, right, you know what to say because you said it to like 100 clients before, right? But they don't know what to say. And so having a script book is one, good for you to kind of write down what you usually say. And if also you're ever like not sure what to do or what to say, then you can always refer back to your script book. There's tons of scripts and stuff, like tons of scripts and objections and all that stuff online too. So that, every time like I came across like a really good objection handler, I'd be like, oh, that's really good. I would just add it to my script book. So then like later, and this kind of gets back into also you should be like role playing and stuff like that as part of your like just getting better at stuff. But the script book is like where you're going to be kind of, housing all the stuff that you actually say to a client, to a lead. Like where your objection handler should be, where all of that kind of thing should be. And then you should also have email templates, right? Like a lot of this, emails that we send out to leads. This could be lead follow-up emails, or after you set an appointment with somebody, do you email them? If you email them, what do you say, right? Because every time you set an appointment, you're probably going to be sending that same email. So make it a template.
Yeah. Awesome.
So those are the things that you should be kind of keeping, is this action plan, a script book, and templates, email templates. Okay, so I want you to think about lead conversion in these 6 stages. So your lead is always in one of these, somewhere here, in one of these stages. Okay, so they come in, right? There's the initial contact, right? You're trying to reach them, right? What do you do to try to reach them, right? Because sometimes you won't reach them right away, right? You maybe you call them or text them and they don't respond. So how many times are you gonna try to reach out to them before they go into junk, or they go somewhere else, right? So what's that initial contact stage, right, that you haven't talked to them yet? Then there's the initial conversation. Like, what is the first thing that you say to people, right? This is your first impression. So what is the first thing that you say to them? Because I know a lot of times, like I've gotten on the phone, like you get on the phone and it's like a seller lead, and then you talk, and then you get off the phone and you realize like you forgot to ask them like, oh, what's their timeline, or what, I always forget to ask a couple questions, right? And you're like, oh, I just got off the phone with them, right? So that initial conversation, like having a script for like what are the questions that you really need, and how do you guide them to actually like set an appointment with you, right? So with this initial conversation, then either they're going to set an appointment with you, right? Then you keep going down, or maybe they're not ready. Maybe they're not selling for another 6 months or a year, but they just want to start the conversation. Then they go into lead follow-up, right? Or they're like super crappy, you really don't want to work with them, or they're a spam lead or something, then they go into junk, right? So after that, they're either in lead follow-up or they're continuing down your funnel because you have set an appointment with them. Then pre-appointment prep. What do you do before you actually meet with them? Like, like let's say for a listing appointment, right? What do you do comps? What comps do you do? What stuff do you put together for the appointment? Like, what do you do in this stage right before your meeting? Then you have your listing appointment or your buyer consultation. What do you do during this appointment? And then after this appointment, either they're going to sign an agreement with you, or if they don't yet, then they would go into lead follow-up, right? And then if they do sign an appointment with you, what do you do after the signed agreement, right? So that's kind of the start to your contract to close process. So then they go into your next system. So if you think of clients in these, like all of your leads are somewhere in this process, right? Somewhere in these 6 stages.
For sure.
So by being able to figure out kind of where your leads are and having a system for, okay, when they're in this stage, this is what I do, that you can just, that is how you will develop your lead conversion system. Okay.
And I'm getting excited now because I know where this is going.
Okay, so I have something for you guys. I'm not going to leave you hanging. So while I don't have my lead conversion system for you, I created this workbook for you guys on kind of walking through these six steps, so that when you take some time, hopefully you'll maybe have some time over the holidays to just kind of print these out and just write down kind of your ideas of how you're going to convert these leads. And this workbook will kind of step you through each of those steps and give you questions and things like that, and some examples of how to create these buyer and seller lead conversion systems. Okay,
Yay,
so
cool.
We're going to go through this a little bit more in detail, but it's there for you so that, what I would do actually is probably get this printed out, then come back to this recording and kind of walk through it as we're talking through it. So
awesome.
So you can get the workbooks.
There's the workbook. Yay.
There.
Cool.
I'm giving you guys a discount, so it's free. So if you
the price is right. The price is right.
Then please download this, because I do think this is so important to just be thinking about how you follow up with leads and just being very purposeful in what you're doing in your business. Okay.
So Michael, I think he sent it to me, but I think he meant to send this to everyone. What is the average number of call, text, email to a lead before you junk it? That's a great question. Or do you ever junk it?
Yeah, I don't actually. A lot of people just end up going into lead follow-up. And I think that comes from, this is related to your lead, I think your CRM and how well your lead follow-up system is. So I use Sierra as my CRM. It's expensive, but totally worth it because it definitely got me deals through their automated lead follow-up system, so that I didn't have to think about lead follow-up, and their whole system was automated so that if they ever raise their hand, then I would re-engage with them. So lead follow-up doesn't have to take a lot of time if you have the right system to do it. So that's kind of how my lead follow-up was. I would really only junk if I thought that either they were spam or, they were just some people you realize off the bat, I'm not going to want to work with this person. So then they went into junk. Yeah.
Okay.
And I think this is really important too. If a lead comes in and they're not ready to buy in 2 or 3 years, they are going into lead follow-up. That is not a junk lead, right? Every person needs to, very likely every person needs to buy or sell in the next 7 years, right? 10 years, right? So lead follow-up is years long, right? So if they have any remote possibility that they're going to buy and sell, they go into lead follow-up.
Yeah.
Okay. But how many?
You never know. I guess the way I look at it is that, remember, I go back to the law of 25. One person equals 25 friends, family, coworkers, opportunities. So if you're staying in front of them, remind them who you are, what you do for a living on a consistent basis. You might not work with them, but you might work with their friends, family, or coworkers, or Facebook friends. Right. So yeah.
So and I think so that question comes back to kind of this initial contact, right? For you, how many times do you reach out to talk to a buyer? So this is about buyer leads. So let's talk about our buyer process first. So initial contact, how many times do you reach out to a buyer to talk to them, right? Say, and then as part of your system, let's say you're okay, I call within 4 hours. Ideally you're calling ASAP, right? But let's say you're calling within 4 hours. If I can't call within the 4 hours, or I can't call immediately, I send a text that says this: thanks so much for reaching out. I'll give you a call, at 7 p.m. when I'm done with my appointments, or something like that, right? So think through that process, right? Okay, how many times, if I don't reach them, or I am how many, at a showing or at a closing and a lead comes in, what am I going to do, right? And specifically, then this is part of your email or your text templates. This is what I'm going to say. So every time it's the same. This is what I'm going to say. And then if you don't reach them, let's say then if I don't reach them, then I'm going to call them every other day for the next 5 days, right? Or I'm going to, email them. I'm going to alternate emailing, text, calling, email, text, call, so you can create these systems for yourself. Because I always felt some people, some agents are in that camp of the lead comes in, you gotta pound them for the first 10 days, right? And just because that's when they're the hottest, that's, you're gonna pound them that way. Then for me, I did not do that all the time because I was not of the person that like, I wanted to call them like 3 times a day, for the next, 5 days. So I kind of spread out mine because also I knew my lead follow-up was very good too. So that like I'm really trying to like really talk to the really hot leads that like actually want to talk to me. And then if there's ones that after just a certain amount of days that they just aren't interested, totally fine. It just goes into lead follow-up. So so that's how you can kind of figure out like that initial contact, how many times is good for you. Because, and I think this is true too, like, you have all of these other coaches. I'm sure you've heard coaches say, okay, this is the like the prime, like, for sure way to convert a lead. You got to call them, text them, email them this many times. But if you're not comfortable doing that, are you really going to do that? You're not going to, right? So do what is going to work for you and then write that down, right? So, because then if it's, let's say you're not following up with them enough, right? Then this is a point where then you can very purposely go back to your lead conversion and look at your lead conversion system and say, hey, there's something wrong because I'm not converting enough leads. Maybe I should be talking to more people, in this stage, right? So you can kind of be tweaking this as you go. Okay, so you're gonna kind of figure out how many times do you reach out to try to talk to them, right? Now, if you don't reach them, right, then they go into lead follow-up because we don't know if they're a junk lead or a regular lead. So they just go into lead follow-up. Then that's the initial conversation, right? So these are things to think about is what do you say the first time you talk to a buyer? Like you should have a script of this is what I say. This is what I say. This is the information that I try to get. Like what we did was something called LP Mama. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that. Like location, price. Now I'm trying to think.
It's called LP Mama.
Yeah, it's called LP Mama. Like location, price. Can't remember what the M is. Like, and then there's like agent, pre-approval, and appointment. So there's like a way to kind of think through this. And in the workbook, I have a link to a website that somebody else talks about, like LP Mama. So, but what is all the information that you get? The question is, what is all the information that you get from a buyer from that initial conversation, right? Or M is motivation.
Motivation, yep. Location, price. I just Googled it. It's like a thing, like location, price, motivation, agent, mortgage, and appointment.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
that's a first for me too.
So right. So there, cool. I mean, LP Mama is there because that is a lead conversion system, right? That is a way to like systematically ask, because every single buyer you are going to ask, why are you buying, right? Where do you want to look? Are you pre-approved, right? Like these are all questions that you can have a system to do this, so that you're not like you pick up the phone and every conversation is different. Like that's not a good thing. So, because then, right, you're on the phone and it's like, and you forget to ask something and then you hang up. Like I always hated that when I always, had something that I forgot to ask. But if you have a script, then you can use this script every time. So what we had in our business was we had a buyer sheet, and I had it on my desk. And every time a buyer lead would come in, I grab a sheet. And I have to start filling it out, right? But it has all the LP Mama so that you don't forget any questions. So, so what do you say the first time you talk to that buyer? What information do you get? And be very purposeful in thinking about what is the next step and the goal for this conversation. So, and I think this depends on what you want to do, right? Like some people like a buyer consultation. Some people like the goal is to get them in their office for a buyer consultation before they go show homes, right? Other people are like, let's go meet at a house, right? And do that. So it depends on like what you want to do, right? But be very purposeful about it, because from the buyer perspective, they don't know what the next step is. They have no idea what the next step is, right? But for you, if you're confident in saying, hey, it sounds like, we might be a good fit. Let's go meet at my office, at 4 p.m. Or, hey, it sounds like a really good fit. Let me see if that house that you're interested in is available. Then I'd love to meet you in person, and then try to set up that showing, right? So be purposeful in thinking about what that next step is for this conversation. And it should be the same for every time, right? Don't half the time you do a buyer consultation, half the time you meet for a showing. Like you should be trying to do the same process every time. And come up with that, because then, like, let's say you always want to meet at the office first, right? Safety issues, or you feel more comfortable doing that process. I'm sure there will be an objection, right? That is an objection, like, oh, I don't want to meet your office, can we just go see this house, right? That will be an objection. You now is the time to think through, what am I going to say to that objection, right? So that's how you should be thinking about setting up these systems. Okay, so then think about, okay, what's the next step for that conversation?
Love it.
Okay, then now you're into following up, right? Now you've had this initial conversation. Let's say you do set up an appointment with the buyer, right? So what do you do after they set up a showing or a buyer consult with you? Is there, like, maybe on your end, maybe you're setting them up with searches in the MLS. You're sending out an email, which should be a template that says, hey, it was wonderful meeting you or talking to you on the phone. Here's a couple of our follow-up steps. And I'm looking forward to meeting you on Thursday at 2. Right. So there's certain steps you do after an appointment. And the reason why I always felt like this was important is because a lot of times, right, you get off the phone and you've already had like 3 phone calls or 3 fires that have come in, right? So maybe you don't have time to do this post-appointment stuff right away. But if you have a process for it, then at least okay, I got to come back and do these 3 steps, right? Otherwise, I can guarantee you it goes by the wayside. Then, like, you're at this buyer appointment and, like, you're not prepared. So I always had, like, a process of, okay, I got to go do these things after I set an appointment. And this is really, it's critical as part of that, creating a referable experience, right? It's not just the contract to close, right? It's this whole process when they first meet you of creating that referable experience of, hey, I got off the phone and I got this email right away from them about all of this stuff, all these resources for buyers, and, whatever you want to do. But that, it helps, it helps create that referable experience when it's the same every single time. Okay. So what do you do after the appointment is set? You're setting up the showings, you're, blocking off time in your calendar, you're setting up MLS searches, things like that. Definitely want to confirm the appointment, either the day before or the day of the appointment, so you don't get any no-shows for that process. Okay, so then let's say they don't set an appointment, right? So this is your lead follow-up stage, right? So after the initial conversation, either they don't want to meet or they're not immediately buying. Maybe they're in a lease until next year and they can't break it. So then they're in this lead follow-up, right? So when do you stay in touch with them? How often do you call, email, text? So for me, I think it depends on their timeline, right? If they're a year from whatever, my rule is from whatever they say they want to buy, cut it in half, right? So if they're saying they want to buy in a year, then you're starting to definitely I would put them in, let's say they're buying in a year. I would put them in automated lead follow-up for the first 6 months, maybe call them once a quarter or something like that. But then at that 6-month mark, really start to try to re-engage with them and see kind of where they are. Because oftentimes when they say a year, they're already looking, right? And so they could be buying much sooner, right? Same thing. If it's 3 months, you better be like really following up with them at the 6-week mark, right? To like start, re-engaging with them. And so I think that depends on their timeline. So you can kind of think through, okay, if it's a year out, I always had buckets of like, okay, if it's less than 3 months or less than a month, this is what I'm going to do, right? That's a super hot lead, but they're not quite ready to meet yet. That would be like less than a month. Then maybe 3 months is a little bit like more of a warmer lead. 3 to 6 months is a warmer lead. Then the 6 plus, to over a year, is kind of in another bucket of what you're going to do with them. So kind of be thinking through, okay, well, depending on their timeline, how are you going to follow up with them, right? Because you're definitely not going to be following up every month. If they're over a year out, they're just going to get annoyed, right? But you
Right
got
on.
to make sure that you are in front of them enough so that whenever they are ready, you're the person that they think about.
Mm.
Okay. So things like I was mentioning, for me, my lead follow-up was in my CRM. So I knew exactly when to follow up with people. I also have a template that is in my store that is
Yay.
a CRM, essentially a very simple CRM that will tell you when to follow up with people. So you guys can purchase that if
You're
you
gonna
don't have
share
a
that?
CRM
Is
that
that what
does
you're
lead
sharing
follow
today?
up very well. So
Is that what you're sharing today?
no, that's not part of it. But
Okay. Okay.
you guys can go into the onto my site and
Okay.
you can look for it. Yeah, I think it's called the buyer seller pipeline.
Okay.
So then you can basically you can like enter in when was the last time you talked with somebody and when you want to follow up with them, and then it'll automatically like turn red when you need to follow up with them,
Mm.
so that you don't have to worry about the people you don't have to follow up with yet, and you only have to focus on the people that you need to talk to like today or in the next week. So so that's a way that you will not ever lose a lead again, right?
I'll put that. I'll find that and put that link in the training underneath this
Yeah.
video. So
Yeah.
cool.
And then what do you say during lead follow up, right? I think that's also a big question of, okay, well, they're not buying or selling right away, so what do I say? So I always liked saying something like this, like, hi Scotty, I wanted to just reach out and see if you were still thinking about buying in 6 months. Is that still the plan?
It
Is there
is.
any
Yep.
questions I can answer for you in the meantime? So what do they say? Yes, that's still the plan. Okay, great. Is there anything else I can answer for you in the meantime? No. Okay, well, I'll talk to you later. Bye. It does not have to be like, well, the interest rates are really awesome right now, and blah, blah, blah. Like if they're not ready, you cannot force motivation on people, right?
Right.
And they're gonna appreciate it way more that you did not try to hard sell them on why right now is the best time for them to buy or sell, right?
That's funny.
So you're just there as a resource for them until they are ready. And so that I like that script. I think it's very low key, but it keeps you top of mind of, hey, I'm an agent, I'm here to help. And then if their timeline did change, then you go back into your initial, conversation of trying to get that appointment again, right? So
love it.
okay.
Good stuff.
So what do you do when then the buyer consultation, right? So they've signed, they have agreed to the appointment, you've done your pre-appointment stuff. Now you're meeting with them, right? So one, do you get buyer agreement signed? And I hope the answer for everybody is yes, because you should get buyer agreement signed. My state, it was mandatory. I'm not sure if it's mandatory in all 50 states, but even if it's not mandatory, you should still be getting buyer agreements signed. And then the question is, when do you get buyer agreements signed? So in Virginia, it's at the first stage of a substantial conversation with people about a property, right? That's like the technical requirement. But for you guys, right, they'll be thinking about, when do I actually get this agreement signed? When do I bring up the fact that they need to sign an agreement before working with me? Because you guys definitely are not showing 10 houses before they sign anything, right? So you got to think through that process for yourself. Like, are you going to be like, I don't show any properties until you sign an agreement with me? Or are you going to be a little bit more flexible? I was always of a kind of one showing, kind of freebie showing of, hey, let's meet, let's see if we're a good fit. You get to meet me, or you get to meet my buyer agent, but then after that one showing and, then talking at the showing or talking at the buyer consultation, if they're not going to work with you, then that's it, right? Like either they go into lead follow-up, or they decide to do something else. So think through like when you're going to get this thing signed, right? And then again, how do you explain why they should sign this exclusive agreement with you, right? What are the benefits of working with you instead of another agent? Do you offer any of those guarantees, like, minimum satisfaction guarantee? I've seen like that buyer happiness guarantee, stuff like that. Well, what do you do for that they would want to work with you? Okay. And then how do they sign it? right? Like just thinking through the technical aspects of it, right? I'm sure all of your associations have a template buyer agreement that you can print out. You should just, at a minimum, bring that to every new showing, every buyer consultation, right? So that when they're ready to sign it, you have it in front of them, either as a paper copy, or let's say, or via DocuSign, right? Or whatever, .loop or any of those, electronic signature services. But if they're ready, then you want to be able to have the ability for them to sign when they're ready, right? So how many times have we, you go on a showing and you're not sure if that's like really going to pan out or whatever, and then they're like ready to go and you don't have the paperwork and you're like, oh, I have to email it to you later. Like, I'd rather get them signed right there when they're when they're ready to sign and they're meeting with you. And so I always brought I always brought hard copy paperwork with me. And then if they were like, oh, let me just sign it later or something like that, you can have an objection handler for them to sign right there, or you can send it to them later. So, okay.
Very cool.
Okay, then after the signed buyer agreement, what do you do after they've kind of chosen you and you want to welcome them into your world, because now they are super special because they've decided to work with you, right? So you're sending them the paperwork and next steps. That should be an email template, right? Like every new buyer that comes in should get an email of welcoming them to be part of your team, your community. And then here are the next steps. Here's the introduction to my lender to get pre-approved. Here's, for me, I had a showing agent. So here's the introduction to my showing agent. Here's, and then having a script for asking for the referral, right? We talked about, they already hired you. They already believe in you and want to work with you. So that's a good time to, ask for a referral. So you can say, hey, I'm really excited to be working with you. I'm sure I've noticed, at least from my past clients, that when they start looking for homes, it seems like one of their friends or family is always looking too. So, hey, the next time that you come across somebody that is looking to buy or sell, I would really appreciate it if you gave them my name or something like that. Just kind of planting the seed in their mind. Like, are they going to have a referral for you right then? Probably not. But by asking and by like telling them, hey, I'm always looking for referrals, it's a great way to get them started to think about that, because when they're going through this process, they're talking to everybody about their home sale process, right? Everybody knows they're trying to buy a house. And that's a great opportunity to kind of just plant that seed of like trying to get a referral. Okay. Adding them to your client appreciation event list, right? They are now part of your client appreciation plan, right? So making sure to add them to that list of anything that's upcoming, so that not only are they, going through this process with you, but now they're seeing the end, like the end result too, right? Like they're seeing like all of your past clients come back and really happy, and like that you're loving on them even more than just through the transaction, right? It's like not only am she helping me buy a house, but she also gave me a pie, right? Or stuff like that. So you can add them to your client event list. And then optional, some people like send a welcome gift, like welcome to being a buyer. We're so excited to, be starting this journey with you, different things like that. So just think through what you do after that buyer agreement gets signed. Okay. I think that's it for that process. Any questions about kind of how to be thinking through that lead conversion for the buyers?
No. And I posted the link to that, what you talked about too, the buyer and seller intake forms.
Okay, perfect.
Cool.
So we're running close to time. So I'm going to go through this a little bit quicker, but it's the same thing, right? So you're trying to mirror the same thing that happens through this seller process, right? So initial contact on the seller side, how many times do you reach out to the seller to talk to them, right? And what are you going to, before they either go to junk or they just go to lead follow-up, right? On the seller side. The initial conversation with the seller. What do you say the first time you talk to that seller? What information do you get, right? You're getting, well, what's the location of the property? Why do they want to sell? What's their timeline? Are there, repairs to the house that need to be made? What's the condition of the house, right? And I mean, I think the next step, the goal for this conversation is a listing appointment. Like you need to go after that listing appointment, right? So if you do have the appointment set, what do you send? Do you send anything before the appointment? So I always send a pre-listing kind of package via email. Some people actually send hard copy, but I always send a pre-listing appointment email that had a customized, it was a video that I created in BombBomb, just saying, "Hey, it was really great talking to you. I'm really looking forward to." I'm really looking forward to meeting with you on Thursday at 2. In this email, you'll find some more information about, my team and how we help sellers sell their homes for top dollar. So you can have an email template that goes out that has your in this email. I would always send it immediately after I talked with them on the phone and got an appointment, and it would have like my marketing plan. It would have like testimonials from my past sellers. It would have like my background, stuff like that just helps you helps them. If they read through it, they're already expecting it just pre-frames them to really like you when you get to the appointment. And I actually also sent paperwork, because sometimes people like to see the paperwork, right? You don't have to have it filled out, but you can send that ahead of time, right? So that what's the objection when you get to the listing appointment? The objection is, oh, I need to read through all this paperwork. I'm not signing anything until I read through it. So sometimes you can send it ahead of time and say, hey, here's our paperwork, just for your information. We'll be going over it when we meet. But it gives the people who are super detailed that want to read that stuff, it gives them an opportunity to read it beforehand. So how are you preparing for this appointment, right? You're looking up comps, you're preparing your CMA, you're printing out the listing paperwork. What are things that you bring to the listing appointment, right? Have your list of, because I always have maybe 4 things that I would always bring. And so I would just list it out so that I never forget something. I never forget to bring something to an appointment. And this is especially important if let's say you're out for the day, right? You're probably leaving your house at 8 in the morning. You've got showings, whatever, closings and stuff, and you may not be home right before your appointment, right? So you got to make sure you have everything for the appointment before you leave your house. So what are you doing at that lead, right before you go to the appointment? Now, no appointment set. Again, that goes into lead follow-up. So how often are you talking to that seller? To follow up with them of when they're going to actually sell their house. Again, half the amount of time that they say they're going to sell, I'd be really starting to aggressively follow up, right? And then what do you say during lead follow-up? Hey, I saw that you were still thinking about selling in about 6 months. Is that still the plan, right? So doing that lead follow-up process.
Perfect.
And then your listing presentation. I mean, this is probably the number one thing. Successful agents are listing agents, and they have this listing presentation down to a T, right? That is, if you do listings, your life is way more balanced, right, than if you're working with buyers. So listing presentation, how do you get really good at convincing sellers to, pay you a lot of money to sell their house, right? So how do you explain why they should sign an exclusive listing agreement with you? What are the benefits of working with you instead of another agent? And I always thought about this as as a seller, maybe, your cousin is an agent and it's their first time selling a house, right? You are much better than that person, right? What do you bring to the table that person can't? Right. And I always came in with that mentality of it's in their best interest to work with me, because I don't want them to end up with a crappy agent, so it's so how do you think through what are the benefits of working with you and not some other agent that is not going to care about them as much as you do, right? So what are the other guarantees that you offer? How do they sign, right? You should be bringing your paperwork, all the paperwork with you. So they have everything should be there if they're ready to sign at the appointment, right? Any disclosures, the agreement, all of that. And then just also have it ready via DocuSign. So in case they do want to sign DocuSign or they decide they want to sign later, you have it ready. And then after a signed agreement, right? This is, you're sending them the paper, you're sending them the paperwork and the next steps. Maybe they sign that night and you're going to scan it all in, you send them the paperwork, introduce them to your team, right? You're probably introducing them to your contractor. If they need repairs, you're introducing them to your stager to get the staging consultation. You can ask for a referral at that point, adding them to the client event, and then potentially sending a welcome gift if that is part of your process. So that would be the process on the listing side of it.
Very cool.
And I think that's it. We're right at 8. So
cool. Right at the top of the hour, 8 o'clock your time. That's hilarious.
Yeah, 8 o'clock
so
my time. Sorry.
Yeah. People are like, what time is it? So awesome. So I put you guys got to check out her stuff. It's at shop.citrustemplates.com, or if you just go to citrustemplates.com, I believe it'll take you there as well, and hit the shop button at the top.
Yep.
Amazing stuff she's put together. Like your prices are like silly. It's $9.50.
I know. I feel like I should totally raise my prices. But...
I mean, I don't want to go public by saying that. Everybody will hate me and never show up again. But so James, like, hey guys, thanks for sharing. Great group. Off to a meeting. Enjoy the holidays. Stay safe, everyone. Merry Christmas. Welcome gifts for working with buyers. Do you have any recommendations for that?
I never really did that. I know that some people at least when they went under contract, I knew people would send moving boxes, stuff like that. Or you could send I've seen people send self-care packages, like a candle or something, to saying, hey, this may seem like a really stressful process for you, but I got you covered, kind of thing. And so here's something to help you kind of relax as we go through this process together. Something like that. Or, just maybe just a small gift or something with your branding on it. I'm trying to think what other things. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Welcome to awesome. Thank you. Okay, Sue, thank you for being here. Hey guys, thanks for being here. Next week, I believe, I didn't even look at the calendar, but it is the week of Christmas. So we'll be taking a little bit of time off next week. So so the 21st, a couple days before Christmas. So I'm going to give everybody a break next week. So we won't see you for a couple weeks. We'll be here. We're probably going to take a couple weeks off. 28th is the week between Christmas and New Year's. Everybody hanging out and chilling. So we'll be back in classes the 4th. And I think, Peggy, that's going to be back with you, right? That's going to be our final.
Actually, the 11th.
11th. Okay, the 11th.
I get back on the 4th.
All right. So we'll do a normal coaching call on the 4th. So we'll miss you guys for a couple weeks. I'm always here for you guys the whole time. Just we're gonna not do the classes for a couple weeks just for the holidays. Give everybody a chance to spend with their families. So, but if you have any questions, reach out. Please do. Would love to work with you, of course. Myself, I'm going to be working on new courses, new content. If you have any questions about past stuff that we've talked about, make sure to go to Fresh Agent Marketing to get, the new site is up. So just if you're new to this, just click sign up at the top right. It'll log you in, grab the courses that you want to attend or want to have as your arsenal inside of, and then of course the recordings and all that stuff. So yeah, William, we've updated a website. So go to Fresh Agent Marketing, click sign up. It's 100% free right now. So I'm letting all my current members know that it's there. And so you guys can check that out. It's just a really cool new way to learn and for me to put up content and for you guys to have content. And so really excited about it. All right. Peggy, as always, happy holidays, my friend. Thank you so much. It's been an honor working with you this year. And man, can't wait to see you on the 11th next year. That's kind of funny that we're saying that. It's kind of funny. So guys, thanks for being here. Same time, same place in a couple weeks on January 4th. Happy Merry Christmas, Happy New Year to everybody. Be safe, and we'll see you on the web. Take care.
Sounds good. Bye, guys.